Now.
Okay, Instagram.
Hello, peoples.
Hello. Live. We're going live.
We're going live on the IGs first.
We're going live. And what's going to happen is that then we'll be live. All right.
Tell me when you're live.
Okay, I'm live.
Let's do it.
I'm live with Daniel France.
Okay. And now I will request to join.
Okay.
Then we'll do this.
Oh my gosh. We're live together for the first
Whoa. This is pretty cool.
What's this called?
This is pretty cool. We finally did it. I love it.
We did it. I know. First time ever.
First time ever. Just move this over just a little bit.
Perfect. Is this my good side? Hi. Oh my gosh. Everybody's hopping on. Thanks for joining. We are live with Daniel Francis, but we have to tell you. Do we have to tell you? No, you should know who Daniel Francis is, right?
Maybe. Probably not. I'm not that special.
If you don't know, you're about to know. This is Daniel Francis, CEO of Master Your Stutter.
Yeah.
Excellent, amazing human being, masterful coach, and business aficionado.
Yes. You might have to turn off your Instagram sound because it might echo.
It's
Potentially.
down all the way. Oh, there's my mute. Okay.
Yeah, you might be mute.
Done.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Well, let's get into it. We are still learning all this technology stuff, but we want to have a great call today and a great interview to share both of our stories, both of who we are. And I think we had a conversation, like a month ago, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's about a month.
And we connected, and it was like, let's turn this into an actual podcast. So
let's go.
Yeah. So is there any questions that you want to ask me, or we'll just kind of go back and forth? What do you have in mind?
Okay, so we decided that we were just going to come on here and talk about things that we care about and that we're excited about, and we'll just see what happens. So I would love to know how the story came about of masteryourstutter.com, right? Like this has become this part of you that you drew forward, and there are all these parts of us that are who we really are, but different aspects can come out in different scenarios. So what called forward the Master Your Stutter Daniel Francis that we know?
Nice. Well, I think for this to be a great pod, I think it's for us to kind of go back and forth and share our stories. But my name is Daniel. I like long walks on the beach. My favorite color is blue. That was a joke. Yeah, no, so my story is I grew up with a stutter per se. My mom's Italian, my dad's Maltese. And for a majority of my life, I did everything I could to master my speech because it really affected who I was as a person, and it's genetic in my family. And I was writing a book about 2-3 years ago, and right before COVID is when I kind of had this realization. I was writing it just before COVID, and I realized that every decision in my life was to overcome my stutter.
Wow.
And so I went into public speaking. Before that, I went into neuroscience. I taught myself how to play the guitar and sing. I've recorded many songs, which I feel like I haven't told you because you're the artist. And I went into management and sales. You know, I've knocked, I would say about 300,000 doors. I used to knock on people's doors and get rejected in the Canadian cold winter. And for every decision I made, it was all to master my speech. Wow. And fast forward to when COVID hit, I was about 26, 27 years old. And at the time, you know, like I made multiple six figures in a year. I had the Mercedes in the driveway. I was with a partner at the time. And I realized I'm like, I've come to this level in my life and quote unquote, I feel like I made it. But I wasn't internally happy.
Right.
And so I looked at my life and I said, well, this is a perfect time for me to make a change, to maybe go after something that's bigger than just trying to make money or just trying to work that corporate life and make, you could say, my family proud or whatever it is, right? To
Right.
check certain boxes. And then I quit my job April of 2020. And I said, well, if I've overcome my stutter, why don't I see if I can help other people overcome their stutter? And I was like,
Mhm.
what I was going to do initially was write a book, and which I did, which is what I was talking about. I've never published it, but I realized because when COVID hit, I quit my job and I deferred my mortgage payments. So the bank allowed me to defer my payments for 6 months. I deferred my Benz payments. I tried to talk to Mercedes; they only allowed me 3 months, and I lived off whatever money I had in the bank. And I realized that if I just tried to write a book and get it off the ground, by the time I get 3, 4 editors, by the time I publish it, by the time Amazon gets their cut, I'm not going to have enough money to pay my rent or to pay my mortgage. And so I was like, cool, maybe I can potentially build a coaching program. And so that's kind of been my life. And then kind of fast forward till now, I'm not a speech therapist, but I've understood the idea of how to help someone overcome their speech challenges and problems. And that's kind of like my journey within a nutshell. To fast forward now, where I've now understood the basics of how to grow coaching businesses, which is really what I want to talk about, and really the marketing. I've kind of fell in love with marketing and taking someone's brand and growing it, and did that for myself. And that's basically who I am in a quick little nutshell. How about you?
Okay, how about me? What is the same question?
Sure.
Okay. So, same question being just how I got to where I am, right?
Yeah.
So, I didn't have a stutter, but I started singing when I was a child, like just fresh out, like all the time. I'd sit on my little like porta potty in the living room, just like singing at the top of my lungs. It didn't matter all the time. And when I started to get older, that started to go away. So I kind of hit this point, probably somewhere around after like 4 or 5, where my voice started to kind of go in and I found myself not really expressing. I don't think that I was necessarily shy, but it would start to portray itself in those kind of behaviors, right?
Yeah.
So over time, as I got into my early teens, I just went in and in and in more. And it got to a point that even up through about 15, I wasn't singing as much. I wasn't speaking. I was just going in and in and in. And what that turned into was a rich, inner, prolific world, but I couldn't really express it. So I started songwriting, and people wanted to sing my songs all the time. And I actually had a couple people try to steal some of my songs. And I
Damn.
was okay, I got to do something about this, right? Not only was this becoming an issue, but personally, it was really challenging for me because I couldn't express myself, particularly in my most intimate relationships. So somehow the idea of singing to a crowd felt less intimidating than just like speaking my truth and saying
Yeah.
who I am. And so I started training with a bunch of different, well, one vocal coach at the time, but now I've trained with several. And some of my coaches trained directly with Pavarotti. So I tried all of these things. I tried all of these techniques, and no one could like get me to just be clear on my bridge. It was
Yeah.
like this, and then it was that. So eventually I just went into my own practice. I went into my own study around it. And it's with my own experience and my own techniques that I went from a 2.5 octave range that no one could really get me past to 6.5 octaves, and actually mastering some of these areas of difficulty that had caused me so much strife in my life. So it's those same processes that I then applied through business and learned how to utilize my creativity and channel it in different ways to bring about different successes. So I helped flip an investment company, 250 mil seed investment into like a 30K a month automated, recouping everything. And then I just got really into business and expressing myself this way and learning that I can be in rooms and at the tables, and I can create my life in a way that is creative and playful and authentic. And if you work through that muscle, eventually it's not that it becomes easier, but you become better.
Yeah.
And, also not a speech therapist, not a psychologist, but I can just share my story and some of the times that I went through and where I came from and how I built myself through.
Yeah.
And from there, it's just been experience after experience. And so I found that really rewarding to come to coaching and
Yeah.
be able to have a platform where I can just share who I am. I can just share, this is what happened for me. If it can happen for me, God knows it can happen for anybody. And then
Yeah.
we found each other in this mutual love for
Nice.
overcoming these sweet little sensitive places. So
Yeah, I just think communication is, maybe this is what we'll like talk about a lot on the call, is that I just feel like for everyone, I think communication is the one thing that can really change your life.
yeah.
I think when you like, you could be the smartest person in the room, you could be the best inventor, you could be the best at whatever you do, but if you don't know how to communicate um, the thoughts and the words that are really going through your head, to me, I just think it's so much more of a difficult life. Um, they've given the example. This is it's probably going to be exact, but they've given the example of like people who are in jail, and what they do is they have, especially for people that have, I don't want to say physical charges, but something of that nature, where at some level the people who are in jail are unable to communicate, and so what they do is they communicate without their words, but in other ways where they get themselves into big trouble because they don't know how
Oh,
to express themselves. And so what
right.
they actually do is they actually have what's called arts and crafts day, where they draw and they actually play with clay and they paint, because it's a form of expression.
Right.
And the reason why I give that example is this is why I've dedicated a good chunk of my life towards communication, because I understand that when you're not actually able to communicate the words that are going through your head, you will express yourself in other ways that will come off the wrong way or get you into trouble because you do something out of anger.
Mhm.
And it's like, even for myself, like I've done so much work on my ability to communicate. Like even when I am angry, I can express what I'm upset about. I can confront situations. If I'm upset with someone, it's not like I'm talking bad about them behind their back. It's like, let's talk it out. What's the problem? And so I think for everybody that's watching this, if you really want to take full advantage of this call, I think and even if you have questions down below, be sure to ask questions. I think that'll be a great interview. But I think for a lot of people, it's realizing that communication needs to be one of the biggest pillars in your life. And you can really judge someone on their trajectory based on their ability to communicate. There's emotional intelligence, but really it's communication. Um, because yeah, like growing in business, becoming an actor, landing gigs, great relationship with your kids or with your family. It's like communication is the golden thread that connects everything together. And I think that's where I think we kind of like, um, we agree on that, both of us at a very deep level. And I think that's why we built a connection and want to and come out with this podcast. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but I feel like
Yeah.
communication, it will be the make or break it for people. And if you can't communicate, that's where I think, that's where I think people get very depressed. That's where I think people kind of throw in the towel. There's challenges with everything, but if you can't communicate, there's only gonna be so far you're going to go in life. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think this was one of the main points that we came together on, and, our own personal journeys through the liberation of finding that. And I'm curious how we approach it differently, probably, right? Because
Yeah.
the emotional intelligence, I think, is so important to be connected to when you go to communicate.
Yeah.
And then there's also the physical, like, act of communicating. It's a muscle, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's a structure that the more you do it, the more you're able to do it. So it's not always easy, right? But it's worth it. And
Yeah.
when you come to those places where you say, "Hey, I can confront this," often what happens is that you're confronting something in yourself.
Yeah.
And it's a lot like Schrodinger's cat when you actually are able to just find a way, find some kind of a way, then you have something tangible to work with. Like
Yeah.
if you don't give anyone anything, you rob yourself and that person of the chance to actually connect with you, to actually create with you. And who knows, wild idea, you might actually get what you want. You
Yeah.
might actually get to where you're hoping to go. And so I think that the emotional intelligence informing that communication is really important. And
Yeah.
that's what helps us to be sensitive and empathic with each other.
Yeah.
And that's what helps us to be authentic.
Yeah.
So there's a combination of working that muscle. And this is where I focus on presence and performance. Usually I'll talk about presence first, but I'm finding lately that talking about the performance first is actually
Mm.
instrumental
Yeah.
because it's easy to sit and hypothesize, but when you go straight to it, the voice doesn't lie, right? Like
Mhm.
if my voice is shaking and quivering, like you can tell it comes out,
Yeah.
and if you can drop down in and feel yourself while you're sharing, while you're communicating, then there's a real opportunity for dialogue. And then
Mhm.
it becomes really fulfilling. So when I talk about performance, and I'd love to hear, what your perspective is on this. I'm not talking about putting on a character. I'm not talking about like da 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 da. Like,
Yeah.
sure, you want that physical structure to project,
Yeah.
right? But within that, it's about your performance level. It's about you rising up to meet yourself. It's
Yeah.
about the habits that you form, the patterns that you create. And at this point, it's not, again, putting on a character, it's drawing out these characteristics. And in a
Yeah.
world like we live in, having character and showing that and
Yeah.
showing the quality of who you are with a little bit of abandon,
Yeah.
that's something that cuts through, that's something that when you confront the situation, that's what you're doing. And that brings respect, that brings, presence, it brings everything.
Yeah. Well, I think there's some basics towards like great communication. Um, I think one of the biggest things is the rule that I live by is like 7:38:55. I don't know if you've ever heard that concept before by Dr. Abram. You're smiling. Is that a yes? I know
I
that, or are
know
you going?
80/20.
Okay.
This is
Yeah, yeah. So so
I
so
didn't
the
care
so
for that.
the so the 7:38:55 rule. I forget his last name, Dr. Abraham something.
Yeah,
And he talks about that in communication, 7% is the words you say,
yeah,
38% is the tonality, and 55% is the body language.
exactly.
And I think for so many people, they focus so much on the 7% and they
Mhm.
don't put as much energy on the other 93%.
Yeah.
And so, for if we want to just give maybe some tips away or some like pieces of advice of like, if you want to better your ability to communicate, this could be closing more deals, this could be public speaking, this could be performing, this could be landing a gig, this could be whatever the case is for you, building networking within your relationship. You have to realize that words, yeah, words are just, you can say the word I love you in so many different tones with so many different types of body language, like it wouldn't even have the same meaning, right? If you did it 10 different ways, all these different types of meanings. So, what do I mean by tonality? Well, tonality is like the way you say it versus like, I love you versus like, I love you, right? It's the same words, but totally, totally different language. Or the way you ask a question, the inflections in your voice of being curious. And then the body language, like I'm very big on whenever I would go knock a door, I would, the line that I would learn is back straight, chest up, head up, big smile on your face and great eye contact. And so
Mm.
that was, to me, that shows great body language. Like if you had to imagine how a depressed person would look like, how would they look like? Probably shoulders down, right? Almost like head to the ground, right? Probably not smiling. They probably talk at this tone, right? So you have to realize, like, how do you look? How do you look like in the mirror? How do you look like when you walk around, right? And sometimes what I even like to do is I like to envision like how would I act right now if I had a camera crew? If I was part of the Kardashians, keeping up with the Kardashians. No, what's the new name now? The
Um,
Kardashians. Okay,
I think
cool, right? And so like they have a camera crew following them all, around all the time. And so for some people, or not for some people, majority of people don't have that. And so you have to realize, like, how would I look like on camera? What would be the level of my voice? How would I want my body language to look like? And if you fix these small little things, then what happens is your ability to communicate gets better and better and better. And ideally, your confidence improves as well. I'm a big fan of eye contact. I'm a big fan of, I think just like, to me, like confidence and communication kind of go hand in hand. So like I get my haircut every 2 weeks. You can say it because I'm Italian, or you could just say it because I want to look good all the time. But I know that that's important for me. Or like, like cutting my beard every 2 weeks or whatever, right? Dressing well. All this stuff really starts to add up. And when you can do that for a long enough basis, to me, like, what is the goal here, right? So whenever I used to work with someone who would want to overcome stuttering, I still do now. But even coaches that I work with, but let's just talk about communication. I would say, I understand you want to overcome stuttering. I get that. And the truth is, I hate to tell you now, you're probably never going to overcome it completely, and you're never going to have a day where you stutter ever again. There's going to be that one day where you're really upset, and all of a sudden triggers start happening, and then all of a sudden you're stuttering again. So that shouldn't really be the end goal. The end goal is to get yourself into a place where you could create the ideal dream life that you want to achieve. And so that's why you want to communicate better. And so, okay, so how would my life look like if I achieve blah, blah, blah? Okay, great. Well, would it be landing a job? Would it be getting a new client? Would it be, I don't know, would it be finding your ideal partner? Right? Like, what is it? And so that's the goal. That's the game that we're playing right now. Right? And so the first part is, where exactly do you want to go? And then what do you need in order to accomplish that?
Right.
Right. And so I think that's what the intention of this call is supposed to be about, is to maybe change your perspective on getting you to that next level, and realizing, like, communication is part of it. Your ability to have high level confidence and great body language, your ability to become the best version of yourself. And so, but realizing that communication, without that, nothing else is going to matter. You can be the best engineer, but if you can't communicate your ability to show others that you're a great engineer, right? Like, there's probably amazing scientists and amazing inventors, but Elon Musk is the top guy, or in the space at this moment. Before it was Thomas Edison, right? And obviously there's a ton more. You can go Steve Jobs, you can go down the list. But the point is, these people are great because they are able to communicate their ideas, not just because they're a great inventor, a great scientist, or a great whatever, X, Y, and Z, software developer. And so I think that's why I've dedicated my whole life to really master this. And that's why even when I work with coaches and entrepreneurs, and it's like realizing, like, what is your message and how do we share your message? I think that is, I hate to take up the spotlight on me, but I think that is the idea for everybody, is if you want to grow in life and become the best version of you, it's like, what is your message and how do you get better at sharing your message?
Yeah.
If you don't know your message, then that's where you talk to this lady over here, and she will help you out. But it's realizing what is that message, so you can then communicate that message to the world. And I think if you get really, really, really good at that, I think that's where you can accomplish the things that you want. And that's why I'm a big fan of public speaking. Right? This is a form of public speaking right now. Right? But I think if realizing being behind the screen, being behind the camera, or not being the performance, is going to hold you back from everything. From the business that you want to build, from the type of relationships that you want to have, to the type of community that you want to build around you, the job, the income. And so, for everyone watching this, I would make communication a big thing in your life. I see comments, so I just want to see.
Yeah, go for it. Excellent breakdown. Really good tips for everybody from Daniel there on how to step into some of this. So I would say, for me, my approach with this is also part of the reframe and going to the physicality. So I love that you shared with everybody how to get there, right? Because it's so easy to go, oh, just get there. Just like have confidence, have a good mindset. Great. With you. How do I do that? Like, hold my hand. If I could do it right now, I would already be doing it, right?
Yeah.
So I love that you showed people how, like, here's a step-by-step breakdown. Here's
I have a
one
lot
way
more.
to get
I have a
there.
lot
Yeah,
more, by the way.
got
Sorry,
so
sorry,
many
continue.
steps. It's like a stairway to heaven.
Yeah.
So, for me, this is why I focus on presence and performance. And this is how I understand them working together. Because performance is your action part, right? Like it's your ability to perform. And this is where the habits that you have in your life set you up to be able to do that. And there's also the actual like doing that. Like you have to actually do that. You have to like kick yourself out of the
Mhm.
nest. And I think that one of the most important things that I learned very early on in my journey with this is that your muscles don't shake because they're weak. They
Mm.
shake when you're getting stronger. So when you go out and you make this step and you take this leap, you're being courageous. You
Mm.
are defining in a new way. You are one of the people like weakness would just lie there. Weakness would just not move, right?
Yep.
Maybe that's depression, like you talked about. Like, what would that look like? But think about even at the beginning of a journey, you're shaking all the way through to the end. The vibration is just different. Okay.
Yep.
When Pavarotti sings on stage, he is vibrating, right? And so you never stop shaking. It just defines itself in another way. A quiver, like that can be the marker of so many things. It could be fear or it could be pleasure. So, how you approach this and realizing that our nerve receptors operate like it's the same nerve receptors that are there for anxiety or excitement, right? Like
Yep.
it's the same nerve centers. So, how you approach it and how you work with it and how you frame it, like you said, is so important. And then there's the actual, like, okay, I'm in it.
Mhm.
You're shaking. Like a huge part of that is learning how to break through something new and get comfortable and present and all right with that part of the process. And
Yeah.
I have to tell you, some of the most profound moments that you see from anyone, whether it's in a speech or singing a song or just one on one sharing your authentic feelings and yourself,
Yeah.
it's those raw moments that affect people. It's those real moments that transform you. So
Mhm.
I remember shaking and crying my way through singing in front of people and doing these things that felt so weird so that I could access my vibrato, and it's awkward and it's strange. But what was happening for people on the other side was probably much different than what was happening for me. And so this is where it can actually be helpful to have this kind of eagle eye view and perspective on what's happening, and also start to feel and read the environment. Because internal and external congruence is something that not everybody's working with. And if you're taking a step into that to be real and authentic with your life,
Yeah.
like you're steps ahead, you're miles ahead, you're on the path. And you'll find the right people along the way that go, oh my God, like that person is like crying and they're performing, like crying through their tears. Whether that performance is just having a conversation with your significant other that is defining, whether that conversation is the passion you feel in the boardroom and sharing, like, this is what I believe and
Yeah.
steering a company, whether that's guiding a nation and having that moment of being real and, feeling the world as a single person,
Yeah.
all of these are real moments of performance. So I think we need to understand that our performance is built in, right? Like this is happening whether we want to acknowledge it or not.
Yeah.
And when we acknowledge it, we can actually honor ourselves. We can feel the other people in the room. We can understand what's happening. And that information is priceless.
Yeah.
So if you're courageous enough to take this step out there to say, okay, there's going to be feedback, there's going to be good feedback, there's going to be bad feedback, and sometimes there might be amazing, epic feedback. I had someone tell me a long time ago, let them judge you. Let them judge you for how beautiful you are and how hard you work and how caring you are, right? Like people are going to judge, it's part of it. And
Yeah.
if you step into this self acknowledgement and this performance, you're stepping like into yourself and you're bringing that out. and you're going to get feedback, you're going to get response. And that's beautiful because then you have something to work with,
Yeah.
right? Then you can shape that love, that success, that failure, and morph it into something that's meaningful. You're in the game.
I
So
love
I
that.
think present in your performance and just letting it happen, right? Like, yeah, I'm shaking. Oh, I'm shaking. Okay. And working your way through that. And when you do that and you give people the opportunity to be a part of that inspirational journey, you
Yeah.
might be surprised who you can affect and how you can affect yourself. So I would say just go into the vibration, let it evolve. That would be my tips for everybody.
I love it. I love it.
Okay. Thanks, Daniel Francis. All right. So, did you find some questions in the comments, or should we just keep going?
I think we should just keep going.
Jeff said, "Love that." Oh, yay! Okay, cool. So, we've talked about presence. We've talked about performance.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about. I want to understand the thread for you. So, you've had this like deep crash. You've had this like epic rise. I
Yeah.
want to understand what for you in that feels like a theme that keeps going. Like, what
Yeah.
is the thing that is a through line for you there? What motivates you and holds you
Yeah.
through?
Well, I think we should. Devin says, "Go into the vibrations." Love
Oh,
that.
okay. We love it. So let's do
Nice. Yeah,
that.
I think the through line for me is, and I think maybe we could talk more about like business and marketing, maybe like the other half of the podcast, right? But yeah, I think for me it's realizing that I don't know, like I have this thing in me that I've realized that you can call it spiritual, you can call it whatever you want. You can call it whether it's the soul of who I am, God, the universe, my spirit guides. There's this gnawing thing within me that I am, and I must go after this thing that's bigger than who I am right now. And I'm blessed on the fact of like, I'm willing to like, you know, drop everything around me to go make it happen. And it's not like I was born in, because I'm a big fan of entrepreneurship. I've always been what's called an entrepreneur. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but
Yeah.
it's like I'm creating a business within a business,
Right.
right? And so I've always like worked for someone. I've always had a mentor, but I've never had a salary before. I've never had a consistent check every 2 weeks. I've always lived off commissions, which is crazy. I think when I was 16, I worked at a grocery store and they paid me $16 an hour. So maybe that was it. But for majority of my life and my career, I've always lived off commission. And so I've always had this like inner entrepreneur in me, which is like, I don't want a boss at some level, right? I hate the corporate game. I think don't even get me started with that. I think everyone can get paid unfairly within the corporate game, right? And so for me, it's like I would rather write my path than be forced to maybe like fall under someone else's path at some level. And even though for majority of my career I was an entrepreneur, but it was still reliant on me. I was the one building up the business. If I didn't move the needle, my income didn't grow, my income went down. And so for me, I have this entrepreneur that I've ripped out of me that this is my life. And I either figure this out or I die. Like it's like a do or die with me.
Yeah.
And I guess you can call it like I've connected with something higher that there's no going back. I've burnt the boats. And for me, that's really how I operate. Like I got what, maybe 80, 90 years on this planet if things go well, right? We'll see if we can push for 100. But that's about it. Sorry, 1 second. Let me just lower this. Let me lower my brightness down. I got 80, 90 years on this planet. And then and then I come back again. I'm kidding. Maybe. We don't know. And so the whole point is like, all right, well, I have this much time. What can I do in this time period to make it be as awesome as possible? And I understand, well, I got to take a big risk. And I have to do things that a lot of people are not willing to do.
Yeah, 100%.
And so a lot of my fulfillment has come from taking these massive risks that scare me, but I rather live this way than any other way. Period. That's just how I'm wired now. And the funny part is, really, no one in my family is an entrepreneur. They've actually been very upset with me that I didn't go get a safe job with benefits.
You're so dangerous, Dan.
I'm super dangerous. Now it's just like, oh, we're so proud of you. Wow. Such an inspiration, right? Yeah, you were saying that before, guys. And so the idea of how I like to operate, and hopefully this can motivate you at some level, it's like the fun of life. And I think will really open up my eyes, because my parents can be my parents. I'm very blessed to have a loving mom and dad. I'm very blessed to have a loving family, but they could only teach me so much. And so one thing I did, which was a big thing that everyone used to talk about was actually, going into door to door, because it's like, you don't have a base salary. You're getting dropped off where, you're talking to who, like what the heck, right? And then I make multiple six figures and like, oh my God, wow, this is so amazing, right? And so, one thing I realized with door to door was it really matured me. It's like this echo chamber of where you have to grow really quickly.
Right.
It's like a do or die. And so I would meet all these people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. And one line that I would always ask whenever I would meet them is, I would say, if you could go back to when you were 21 years old, what would you do differently? And you could probably guess what majority of them have said.
Tell us.
They went after that person that they blah, blah, blah. They wish they took more risks, right? They wish they weren't as conservative, quote unquote, in their decision making as they did. They wish they pushed out of their boundaries, because now they're old and gray, and it's like, we got to take a time clock, right? And so that is how I operate, period. And I think that's how a lot of you guys should be operating as well. It's just like so to me, and this is maybe we won't talk about like in depth in business and marketing, which I love talking about marketing. If you guys ever have questions about marketing, I live reading that stuff. But for me, it's like the pillars of how I operate is, life is just a big game. And so what game am I playing? People play the get the safe job, hopefully make enough money for the white picket fence house, have a couple kids, work the 40 hours a week, 40 years of your life, right? Go back and forth in traffic, right? On the weekends, we have a couple drinks, blah, blah, and just repeat. Hopefully save up enough money, land something big one day, and we go on a vacation once, twice a year. Retire at 65, right? The average, hopefully have enough money by the time you retire, right? And so to me, it's like, okay, everyone's playing that game. That game kind of sucks. And so I'm like, okay, so what other games are out there? Because I see that game. I've met a lot of people who've been in that game for a while, and I kind of don't even want to do that game. It doesn't sound like fun. It sounds like crap.
Okay, so let's talk about fun for you. What are the business goals for Daniel Francis?
Well, I think it's more like, to me, I'm a coach, I'm a mentor, and it's like, I know you're like, but you need more years in your life. No, I don't really buy that. To me, fun is the ability. So let's even talk about coaching, right? To me, I'm the most sold on coaching over, lots of peeps. I think I'm overly sold. That's who I naturally am. I get oversold on things, but I'm really sold on coaching. I've done coaching for the last 2.5 years now. And my life has changed dramatically. I work where I want to work. Because I built my business during COVID, all my clients are online, which is really cool, because I get to work with people all over, not even just Canada, but all over the US. I would say majority of my clients are in the States. Europe, right? Australia, the Philippines, India, whatever. The list goes on. And there's a massive fulfillment in changing someone's life. So for me, what I used to sell was internet, TV, and home phone. I would get you a great deal on a great speed, on a great fast internet speed. And now I've transitioned my life to really make a major impact on someone's life. Right? This morning, I had a real estate coach join my program about 10 days ago on the 20th. And he's been stressing, he's been worrying, he's been watching my stuff. We were chatting. We chatted like a Sunday ago or whatever on the 20th or the 19th. And I was like, I'm not gonna give you his name, but I'm like, okay, we need to do this, this, and this. I need you doing this, I need you doing that. Boom, boom, boom. I know you have a ton of experience, but this is what I need you to do. And then he did it. And then today he closed a 5750 sale. So almost $6,000 sale. That has ultimately changed his life. And he posted a video in my Facebook group, which I thought was pretty cool. Or I get a text saying, Daniel, I just landed a 6-figure job because you helped me overcome my stutter. Or Daniel, I'm realizing that, I had Dr. Osman who landed a promotion at work and his family life has changed, right? Or we could talk about Nicole, right, who is an Amazon coach and, she's like a single mom and full-time teacher, and I'm able to change that situation. And so to me, when I really reflect my life from COVID till now, I live this life where I live life on my terms. I don't report to anyone. So if I have a good month or a bad month, it doesn't matter because it's all up to me. I work on my own schedule. If I want to cancel the rest of this afternoon, I can, and I can cancel all tomorrow if I really wanted to. I won't, but I'm just saying. And I'm in a position where I could really make change in people's lives. Now, you go, that's awesome. Yes, but I have left a lot of things on the table, or not left. I've burnt a lot of where I could go to go all in with this. And so I've realized that like the true fulfillment has come from taking massive risk in my life. And I think that's how I'm wired. And then for me, it's like I set a goal and I get extremely aggressive to go and achieve that goal. Sometimes I'll just get punched in the face, hypothetically. I'll have a good night's rest and I'll get up upset. And I'm like, okay, let's go day 2. Let's go again. I'll get knocked out again. Like, okay, we're gonna go day 3. And I get knocked. And then I would do that for about a couple months. And I think that's how I'm wired. And for me personally, I think a lot of people can be wired like this. But it's all dependent on who you are deep down. Maybe entrepreneurship isn't your thing, but maybe partnering with someone. But I think when I look at work and I look at career, I look at your career or your work is about what? Maybe 70% of your life.
Yeah.
So if you hate what you do, you're probably going to hate your fucking life. I'm going to let that just sink in real quick. If you naturally hate what you do for work, this is why you get a solid communication coach over here, because that's why you get a communication coach. So you can go land the job you want. So you can go become the person you want to become, right? But I hate to say this, if you don't like your job, you're probably not going to like your life. Period. Right? Like when I see like divorces are really high, I don't know, like you can talk about relationships, but like, if you hate your job, you're going to take it out on your partner. That's why the whole idea, like working on yourself is a full-time job. So work on yourself, get your shit in order. And so for me, like, I think that's where, as I'm getting older and older, I see a lot of these miserable old people, all you old people watching this. Technically, I'm an old person when I talk to like someone who's like 20 years old. Oh, you're old. You're like 29, 30. Ew, gross, right? I'm kidding. But yeah, like I've seen a lot of these people play that game. That game sucks. And so I think if we look at the game of life, we have to realize that we have to choose something that is giving us life and purpose and fulfillment. If not, this game sucks. And so I think that's how I'm operated. So it's always like every decision I make is like, what decision can I make to make this game more interesting and fun? So it's like, oh, I can run a coaching business. And I just had a buddy of mine clear $1 million last month, cash collected. I'm like, oh, that sounds great. Sign me up for that. How the heck do I do that? Well, I got to do all this stuff. Okay, cool. Or, right. And I'm always a big fan of like, let me try something and then I'll tell you if I enjoy it or not. Don't tell me you wouldn't like that or you'll like this. So for example, I've had the Mercedes, the AMG Mercedes in the driveway. I probably wouldn't get a Mercedes again. It was a good experience. Not for me. Like, let me try things out. And so to me, a great life is about experience. Let me experience these things. And so if you are not, to me, if you're not improving the problems in your life, you have the same problems you had last year, it's an issue. That's how you know if you're growing or not. Are the problems staying the same or do you have newer problems? So for example, a year ago, the problems were about growing my coaching business or whatever. Now it's like, now that I have a team of 6, how the hell do I deal with everyone when they're calling me and I'm trying to sleep and there's this problem, I got to put out this fire, right? Or I got more clients or like, blah, like, so there's new problems. If you're watching this and you get the same fucking problems from last year, it's an issue, period. And so to me, what makes a great life fun, based on the question you asked, is experiences. How do we level up the experiences? And I don't mean, oh, I'm going to go travel the world and I'm going to come back, with nothing in my pocket and start from scratch again. No, that's a bad plan. The fuck are you thinking? I've seen this so many times. Yeah, I love it. You traveled Asia. You come back with nothing in your fucking pocket. What are you doing? And you got to start from scratch again? Hopefully I didn't offend anyone on this call. But my point is like, you got to set this game up to be solid. So I'm a big fan of coaching businesses. I just had a conversation with one of my clients today. She's from Ireland. Dan, I'm thinking about quitting my job full time and going into coaching. I'm like, I love this because I had this conversation with her. I go, I won't give you her name, even though I did give other people's names. She goes, I'm saving up to kind of travel the world, and so I don't know if I should spend it in like growing into a coaching business or doing it or kind of traveling. I'm like, look, you're gonna go travel for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, and then come back with nothing in your pocket and start from scratch again. With the amount of money that you have right now, correct? Well, I could probably push you to 3. Okay, let's give yourself 3.5 weeks. So you come back. What happens now? What happens now? You just go back to work and repeat and save up again. Hopefully you can do it again, right? And so I was like, what we should do instead. So I talked to her back in August. I go, so what you should do instead is invest into a coaching business. You've tried to grow this coaching business. You haven't got it off the ground. Let's get it off the ground so you can travel and quit your full-time job and do this full-time. And so I know I'm ranting a lot, but my point is like, for everybody, it's like making these decisions that move the needle in your life. Because I do not want to be that old, miserable person when I'm 72 years old. That get off my lawn, you kids, at 78 years old. And I think it comes from a lot of making decisions at this age. Sorry, not this age, but the right decisions that are risky, but also you understand what the worst case scenario is. And when I look at a lot of people, I think a lot of people are scared to make those risks. But I think if you do it properly, you can ultimately change. Like, for example, let's say you invested into Evol's coaching, right? Evol, sorry. You could, it would cost you money, but if your communication changed because you've made this investment, you could talk all day long. Oh, my communication sucks. I want to become better, blah, blah, blah. But you actually make a decision to hire an actual coach. 3 months later, your whole life can change. 6 months later, your whole life can change. And so to me, I'm a big fan of taking risks. The reason why I spent $30,000 US, which is like $40,000 Canadian, on a coaching program in January last year or this year. Because it's about taking these risks that can ultimately change the whole course of your life. And so that's how I operate. And every time I think I'm stagnant, it's like, what can I do to jolt the system? You know what I mean? What can I do to like put some fear in me in a good way? How do I not get comfortable? And so I don't want to always be in that hunting state, but I love the hunting state. I always go back to like the basics, hunter and gatherers. I'm a hunter deep down, right? Evil will text me. I'm like, I'm in hunting mode. What's up? What's going on? I'm kidding. But my point is like, my
Foraging.
point is like, to me, that's what makes it a life, a good life, is like you're almost like you just get the plane in the air and you'll figure it out. But a lot of people are too scared to get the plane in the air. Like just get like you build the plane in the air. That's how I operate. This is always my favorite analogy. You build the plane in the air. You don't build a perfect plane before it gets off the ground. So a lot of people want to build this perfect plan. No, that's crap. No, and I'm looking for a perfect time. It's never gonna be a perfect time. Like I was again this. It's Black Friday, right? Oh, I don't know. I'm looking for a better time. Okay, well, it's gonna be Christmas next month, and the month after that, you're probably gonna have vacation. And the month after that, it's gonna be Valentine's Day. And the month after that, you're gonna have a kid's birthday. And then a month after that, it's gonna be summertime. It's gonna be springtime. It's gonna be spring cleaning. It's like, when is a perfect time? There's never a perfect time.
Now. The time is now.
That's what I'm saying. And so that's how I
couldn't
operate
keep
with
it
my
in.
long answer. Sorry for taking up a good 10 minutes, but
Well,
I'm so
we
passionate about this.
I love it. I think it's amazing. Do you guys think he should stop? Should we reel it in and put Daniel Francis in a little bushel? I don't think so, Daniel. No, I
Yeah.
love the passion. Honestly, we didn't set an end time, so I think
Yeah.
that we should run with this. I think the passion is important. More people are still joining into the call, so I think
Yeah.
that we should continue for a bit and finish the thoughts and then give people some more free value. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Yeah.
your time, it's your life. You spent the time to be here, so
Yeah.
I think I just have a couple things to say in response to
I-
that, and then maybe we shift out and we go to a few more like quick twitch questions. We can talk about some marketing, some real life business tips, and how to get started.
Yeah.
And,
Sure.
I think you hit something really important on the head. You were talking about the risk. And I think that at some point you have to ask yourself, is the risk that it takes to stay in an unhappy situation, in a mundane life, never hitting your full potential, never stretching beyond, is the risk that it takes of not having the body you want, not having the communication skills to get the relationship you want, not having the freedom you want, not traveling the world in a better way, staying in a nicer hotel because you've made the smart choice, you've done the hard thing, is the risk of not having all of that greater than the risk
Mhm.
of taking a chance, And I'm not saying like run out and make a choice that's going to make you destitute. No. But it's
No.
that commitment, it's that passion that you're talking about, and it's that knowing I will do this,
Yeah.
and that's something that you can't get from the benches. You can't get from the bleachers. You get from living the game of your own life,
Yeah.
you know? So I think it's really important. And for me, that process that you're talking about of getting up and going again, getting up and going again, a lot of people talk about building the empire, right?
Yeah.
I talk about the legacy and creating the legacy because as you just described in your story, empires come and go,
Yeah.
right? And they might change shape and form. So legacy is that thing that drives you. It's that thing underneath the empire. It's that thing when that's all crashed and burnt that helps you to get up and say, I can do this again and I'm going to do it better.
Yeah.
And you get to start fresh every day. And the thing is, there are different stages of this. You might start fresh every day within the building of a single empire, and that's how you shape it differently. And I'm not knocking the empire, it's great. I mean, like, I like a nice house, I like a nice guy, but bring the castle out of the sky and bring it here. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes the castle is cold and you got to chop some wood and you got to light the fire, or let Daniel Francis do it while he's out for no, but that's also that powerful, potent teamwork and that partnership in your life, right? Like you're probably not sitting in the castle. Well, maybe you are, but even in those moments where you're sitting in the castle, like you might have that depression come up. You might have some crippling things happen. But
Yeah.
then you rise up into that and you start fresh every day and you become the phoenix in that fireplace that rises again.
I love
And
that.
it's that process and who you become. And that's where the adventure is actually born. That's where the possibility emerges because now you know how to create that. You know how to work with that. And you know the person you have to be to sit in that chair. You
Yeah.
know why that stature is there, you're actually in it because you're resting your arms on that rest because that's actually easier on your shoulders because you've been carrying a lot. Like
Mhm.
all of this stuff has a purpose and a point. And a big part of that is that when you're going to run into the fire over and over, when you're going to experience those moments of self-doubt when you're actually at the front of the line leading a group of people, oh, wait, I'm still a human person, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to have the courage to go into that and say, I know where I'm going. Let's go. Through that, you have to have those things in life that remind you why you, as you said, get punched in the face every day. You have to have that sweet caress at night before you go back out to battle. You have to have that comfortable chair that you can sit in. And when you want to hang your head, that you
Yeah.
go, okay, this
Yeah.
chair helps me to sit up straight. So I'm going to do that now. Right.
Love it.
So those luxuries become essential, become
Yeah.
non-negotiable,
Mhm.
undebatable. I will live the life that I am capable of living today. I will be the person that does this. And
Yeah.
sure, I'm going to get knocked down, but I'm going to shake and I'm going to quiver my way through. And I'm going to find good friends on the other side that go, yeah, I feel it too. But it's worth it. And we
Yeah.
deserve it. And the time is now. Right?
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So now I've ranted on my little
Yeah. No, it's awesome.
it's like, it's inspiring when you're with people and you realize this is possible, this is real, and we're
Yeah.
living this together, and we're saying, hey, live this with us, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's maybe switch gears and I don't think, do we have any specific questions? Or we can talk a little bit about some specifics with marketing and business, share a
Nice.
little bit about
My
what Daniel
favorite.
does with Master Your Stutter, and then I'll
Yeah.
share a little bit about executive presence mastery, and we can go
Nice.
from there.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, so I have two programs. So I have my Master Your Stutter coaching, speaking program, and then I have my Master Your Coaching program, which is more on building a coaching business. So, yeah, I mean, it's all dependent on who your audience is. So for me, a big thing that I've been really working on is, so I did about $250,000 in my first year in my online coaching space. And so for the year 2021, which was my first physical year, we did about $250,000 in revenue. And so 2022, a lot of people started coming to me and saying, how did you do what you did? How are you making more than a speech therapist? By the way, I don't say I'm a speech therapist. I've never said I'm a speech therapist. I offer a different solution. So how are you getting these people to then pay you for your advice, even though you're not a speech therapist? And I really had to sit with that of like, how the heck did I do that? Because what I did initially is my quick story, and it kind of explains kind of what I'm doing now, is the way I built my coaching program was I was like, okay, cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break down my life, because so in marketing 101 is you're always selling a younger version of yourself, right? If that makes sense. You're always
Mhm.
selling a younger version of who you are, because that's how you know that person the best, because you were that person, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, cool. Let me what do I have to do to get someone to overcome their stutter? And why choose someone like me over a speech therapist? And so I broke my program down into six pillars, which is mastering someone's mindset, right? Without mastering your mind, nothing else will work. The next one is overcoming fear in your life and mastering fear. Number three is your ability to influence others. So mastering your ability to influence and persuade others. Number four and five is about public speaking. So I was like, let me show them how to build a presentation. And then the next one is how to actually present it. What makes a good public speaker? Number six is socializing. So how to socialize with confidence. And so I broke that down. And I said, these are the pillars to get you to overcome your stutter, get you to master your speech. And I was like, it's going to be different because I'm coming from someone who's actually dealt with a stutter, not from someone who's just reading from a textbook and saying, no, these are the breathing techniques that you need to do. Right? It's like I actually did it myself. And then and I was thinking about it, I'm like, how the heck did I do this? And I realized what I did was I took my story and my brand and then I shared it in a community of people. So what I teach is Facebook groups because this year was breaking down my process into a simple and digestible thing for coaches. And so I realized, I said, okay, so how did I do this? Well, what I did was I have my story, I have my brand, I knew the solution that I want to help people overcome is everything. If you guys are taking notes, everyone pays for a solution. People are paying you to solve a problem in their life. That's it. Business 101. Where are you at and where do you want to go? Your program is what takes them from where they're at to where they want to go. That's why they pay you. And so I was like, cool. So some people are paying me to overcome stuttering, or for now, coaches are paying me to, better charge my phone. People are paying me for doubling or tripling their coaching business. 1 second, peeps. When you're on live the whole time,
it goes fast.
It goes fast. Good.
Right.
So I was like, cool.
Okay.
I was like, come on, man.
You got it.
Hey, over here. Okay, cool. So I was like, all right, so that is why people are paying me for a solution. Instagram, I swear to God, I'm jumping off Instagram. I know you guys are on live, but I'm going to jump off Instagram. I'm kidding. I'm not.
Don't leave us.
Baby, come back. 1 second. All right. Oh my God.
Should I do intermission music? What? What happened?
Get the monkey dancing up. Get the dancing monkey up.
Get it? What? Do 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 do. Intermission.
Oh my goodness.
See, performance. Another opportunity.
This is a sign. It's only supposed to be an hour long.
Concept.
1 second.
Okay,
3, 2, 1.
so
Okay, that's it.
what,
I'm getting it. If the phone dies, I apologize.
I was preparing a dissertation. I didn't know how long it would be.
So I was like, cool. Hello, peoples. So I was like, cool. So what did I do? So I'll tell you what I did. I have my message. I shared it with the world. And then I said, great. What I'm going to do is, and this is for everyone, if you guys want to build a coaching business, if you guys own an agency, if you guys are an entrepreneur, this is what I did. It's very simple. I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to spend as little money as possible in building an online brand. And so what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to build a Facebook community. F YouTube, F a podcast right now. Instagram, sure. But it gets complicated on Instagram. TikTok, too much work. I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to go onto Facebook. Let me tell you why. And so then, and because what Facebook has, what other platforms don't have, is what's called a Facebook group. So I don't know too much about other groups and other communities. I heard Twitter's going to come out with one. I don't know about Instagram, but I love Facebook groups. And I'll tell you why. And Facebook loves Facebook groups as well. They realize that when people are part of Facebook groups, they stay longer in Facebook. And so the algorithm pushes Facebook groups out. Cool. So I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a Facebook community. I'm going to call it Overcoming Stuttering. I'm going to put my face on it like this. And I'm going to share my things of what helped me overcome stuttering. And I grew that group to about 400 or 500 members. And I would do like, hey guys, these are my top 3 breathing techniques. Hey guys, this is how I rewired my neural pathways in my brain for me to speak better. Hey guys, this is why I believe everyone should learn how to public speak. And I grew it. I even did like Facebook Live challenges. This is my favorite. Hey guys, I know everyone struggles with speech. If you're part of this group, you obviously want to improve your speech. We're going to do a Facebook Live free challenge. We're going to get everyone to come on live and introduce themselves. Cool, right?
Yeah.
And then I basically grew it. And then people were like, hey, Dan, by the way, I got some questions for you. Could you help me out? I'm like, cool, let's jump on Tuesday. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm coaching people now all of a sudden. This is literally what I did. And I realized the power of Facebook groups. And I know Facebook group is old. Everyone wants to be, go viral on TikTok. But Facebook groups to me is like where a lot of like, especially the audience that I want to talk to. I don't want to talk to 17-year-olds. I want to talk to actual mature people that, they're not kids. And so I built the group up to 400 or 500 people. And then I said, hey guys, I'm doing a live training in my Facebook group. And I said, on Thursday, it was August 20th, 2020, I'm going to share how I overcame my stutter through public speaking. It's going to be an hour training. I'm going to share all the stuff. And then I did it. And it's called a webinar, right? This live webinar. And then I had 40 people on live. And the 40 people came on. Half of it, I'll be honest, was my family. So I'm sorry, mom and dad, for calling you out. But 20 of them was my Italian family. Hello, Penta. I see all you guys. So I had 20 people on there, and they were one was my nonna, one was my mom, one was my dog Bailey, one was my sister. I said, guys, everyone make a new Facebook account.
Of course, okay. Your dog has Facebook.
But yeah, my dog has Facebook. She's like, what the hell's going on with this guy today? And so with her paws. And I know, she's so cute, Bailey. And then I was like, cool. And then so I had 20 others, and I basically shared my story. I opened up exactly who I was. And I was like, this is what and by the way, guys, I was freaking out. I just quit my job. I got my mortgage. I got the bank about to call me about my mortgage payments. And I did this live training, and I said, and by the end of it, I said, also, guys, if you guys really enjoyed this, you guys can come book a call with me. And then over the next 2-3 days, I got 13 book calls, and I'm like, oh my God, what the hell just happened? And they're like, coming to me, they're like, hey, so yeah, so like, do you offer a program? And then I prepared for it. I'm like, yeah, I'm actually coming out with a beta program where it's not complete yet, but we're doing like a beta course. I mean, I'm taking on about 6 people, and that's what I did. And I said, normally my program is going to be $3,000. But right now I'm doing a 90% discount. I'm only going to do it for $300. And I was like, I just want to see if people are actually going to give me their fucking credit cards, and like to see if it's actually going to work. And I was like, they're like, yeah, that sounds fine. I'm like, perfect. I'll just take your credit card. 5142. Like, oh my God. Right?
Oh yeah, zip code.
Yeah, I'll take your zip code. Do you have your SIN number? No, I'm totally kidding. Don't get, if anyone asks you for their SIN number, you're in trouble. So I did that. And then I had these 6 people. I didn't even build my course yet. I just had the 6 people. And I was like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build it 1 week at a time. So week 1, I'm going to teach mindset. Week 2, I'm going to teach fear. And I taught it live in front of all these people. By the end of it, within 6 weeks, everyone had a lot of success. Everyone really enjoyed it. And then I put into a membership area on ClickFunnels, but whatever. And then my Facebook group kept growing. And then before I knew it, I had my first person who booked a call after I taught my beta round. And my mentor at the time says, don't say $300, say it's $2,500 or say it's $3,000. I just said $2,500. And I go, hey, he's like, yeah, I've been watching your stuff. It's really good. Like what I was saying before. And he goes, I've been seeing a lot of your testimonials. I've been seeing your trainings. Like, oh, awesome. He was 55. I'm like, yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm like, oh, have you gone to speech therapy? He's like, yeah, I've gone through speech therapy. It sucks. I'm like, oh, cool. Why do you think I can help you? Well, I like your public speaking thing. I go, oh my God. He goes, how much is your program? I go, it's $2,500. He goes, yeah, sure. No problem at all. I'm like, oh my God. And so that was my eye opener. And I realized that now I have this brand. I have this program that fucking works. And I have this community of people that keep on growing into my world. And so for me, I'm the biggest fan now. I'm like, I wish I had created a brand 10 years ago, not just like a posting on, like an actual brand where people trust. And to me, I think that is the biggest asset that anyone can. I'm just gonna grab my phone. It's gonna die, and I
love it.
People's. And so I've realized that has been the biggest game changer for me, is realizing how to build a brand online and the ability to do business across the world. And I think for everyone here, especially if you want to grow in the online space, your ability to create a brand of yourself that people trust, that produces results for people, that you look like you know what you're talking about, and that people can actually pay you and they get an ROI from that investment, it will ultimately change your life forever.
Love it.
And personally, for me, I think this is where the world's going to go. Mm-hmm. I think the world is going to go online. And so for me, I think we're in the early phases of it still. But I think they say online education is supposed to grow 2.5x over the next 5 years. So it's already a a $10 billion industry. So I guess a $25 billion industry. Um, sorry, yeah, 2.5x. And so I think it's going to keep on growing. I think for a lot of us is realizing that if you could learn this game, although it's scary as hell, you will catch the trend. Just like when the internet first came out. And that's why you have Mr. Jeff Bezos who caught the curve before. A lot of these people who caught the curve before, right? And so I think to me, I think online education is that next big curve.
Mm.
Where I think for a lot of these kids, they think, well, if I just go to university, this is actually really powerful right here. I think there's a lot of kids who are like, if I just go to university or college, I'll land a job. And I think that is starting to lose as much merit as it once had in the 80s or the 70s. Period. And so I think for me, like I said, I'm very sold on this whole idea, is like education. We are a generation of finding the proper education. We in turns have too much education, right? Like when I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, they have too much education. You have too many mentors. There's too many damn YouTube videos. There's too many platforms. So once you get proper education, then you can actually get a result. But I think for me, it's like education is going more and more online. And I think over time, it's just, yeah, if I want to learn a skill, I don't need to go spend 100 grand on college. I could go online and figure it out. And I think that's why I'm really excited about this whole idea. And so I think marketing, I'm saying the power of marketing, of brand building, of getting paid for your advice. It can be a very powerful thing that could be too late for yourself if you don't realize it now. I think jobs will get more and more obsolete. I think teachers and educators at some level, I think this is the path. Yeah. Any words to that? Do you want to add? I just went off.
I'm just like letting it rain and like soaking it up because,
Yeah, this is
you
and
know, it's
how my brain thinks. Go ahead.
it's important, and Daniel, there's so much that we're aligned on. There's so much that brought us together on this call, and for you guys to know, it's one of those things where we get on the call and it's just like we've known each other, right?
Yeah.
And we joked that it was like a past life or that one time in college, but like we didn't go to
Oh
college
God.
together, okay? But in lieu of what you're saying, this could be like that,
Yeah.
So I really feel what you're saying. And, for me, like my path coming to this was very much around value. And so one of the things that I focus heavily on with my clients is around value. And after working with different businesses, different companies, larger projects, it was really hard for me to go back to this idea of having to start over, having to start fresh. And I think there were pros and cons in that because people want you to start at the bottom of the ladder, right? You mentioned, oh, you're young, right? Being a mentor, being a coach, but it's not about that.
No.
And one of the foundational things that I truly believe, like through and through, is that the places that you see as your weakness are actually where your unique super strength lies. And when someone can guide a light and illuminate that and call you through those, that process is so priceless. And so I grew up actually homeschooled. And so I'm familiar with self study, and I always thought it made me a little strange. And I remember having some of those moments where I was like, well, it just makes me unique, where I was able to kind of turn that around with myself. And I still have moments where my belief is tested, right? Where I feel like the strange kid.
Yeah.
But part of why I help people who feel like the underdog become the star of the show is because you have to be present in your own life. And I actually did an Instagram post a couple days ago about being a liability or an asset. And I
Mm,
was, show your assets, right? Like I was kind of being funny. But
mhm.
actually, though, like people want to see and experience you. And my personal commitment is that I'm going to bring the best of me. That's
Yeah.
my goal, right? Like, I'm going to bring all of me and the best of me to the people in my life.
Yeah.
And if a little bit of not the best of me slips out, okay. But I'm going to bring the best of me. And that's what I'm committed to drawing out of other people too. And when we approach things that way, we start to live a more fulfilling life. And when we live a more fulfilling life, we're able to show up with people even better. And I love that you gave this example of the breakdown. I mean, the marketing is so important, like how you're presenting yourself and making sure that that's real and authentic. And also, that can be the marker that pulls you forward and through. So, a coach can do that, a mentor can do that. Education or a system that you redefine and create yourself can do that.
Yeah.
And then it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. Now the marketing can do that. And now you start to get this feedback loop in a positive way that's not stuck, but is a spiral to the next level and the next level and the next level. And I think what you're talking about with education is so important. Being homeschooled, I created early on habits for myself that actually were really supportive to entrepreneurialism. I'm thinking like, oh, and maybe I missed out on some things and it put me behind, but it gave me that internal tenacity that some of my, multimillionaire, billionaire investor friends have been like, oh, this girl's got tenacity. Like, you can sit at our table. And I'm
I
like,
love that.
I can sit at this table. Cool. Oh, you hear what I have to say? Cool. Right. And it's like I thought these things were my weaknesses. And now I'm realizing like this is part of my contribution. This is part of my strength. And so educating kids early on to be more innovative, to be more creative in how they can shape their lives rather than just plug into a system. And then if that's a part of it, no worries. But they're also not mutually exclusive, right? And this is where you can have a job and a business. A lot of people go that way, and there's all sorts of ways to move through those. And that's where having someone to guide you through it is helpful for sure. It's instrumental because then you can actually find the way out without it having to be quite so harsh at times. And then if that's how your motivation is, awesome. This is where it's individual, it's custom. And when you get to this level where you're drawing out that uniqueness with people, you have someone here, Daniel Francis, that has made the steps, done the work to create a system. And tell me if I'm wrong, a huge part of what you do is also helping other people create their system, right? So that's what we do. It's about the inspiration, it's about hearing the story, and then it's about defining and creating your story. So I just want to say, like, it's accessible. Like, don't be afraid. Like, there's probably a lot that we're saying. You're still on the thread. So there's probably a lot that we're saying that you're like, yeah. But if there's something that comes up where you're like, I'm not quite sure. I don't know if that would work for me. Well, yeah, of course it will, because it's custom to you. Like, you're going to bring yourself. You're going to create your own system. And this is so powerful to pass on if we're, talking about kids in the next generation. Imagine if you had this information, if you had these things out the gate, some of the pitfalls we could have avoided, right? And someone asked me the other day how I would raise my kids. I don't have kids right now. Okay. But someone said, would you homeschool your kids? And no one's ever asked me that before. And
would you homeschool your kids?
I thought about it and I went, yeah, I can see the
Trust
pros
me,
and
that's
cons.
I think the same way, so.
Yeah, like I want my kids to like finish their math class and then like us to go take a dip in the ocean in Fiji. You know what I'm saying? Like, what kind of education is that? And I would also have them take programs like this. I would have them take extracurricular courses so that they can get that experience as well. And now we have that ability. Now we have it at our fingertips. And so, the future is happening and the future is now, right? These are the choices that define it moving forward.
I think this has been a great interview. I think maybe potentially we should do a part 2. We'll have more of our tech all on point.
That sounds great. Do you guys, can someone send an emoji if they would like a part 2? Just send me like one emoji. Just give us one emoji.
I'll just write 2.
I love emojis. They make me so happy. So thank
Nice.
you so much for joining. Thank you, Daniel.
It's been awesome.
This is true. Best. Okay. Should we do like a we didn't prepare our exit. We'll be synchronized next time.
Yeah. I think it was awesome, and I'd love to do this again. Cool.
I would love that too. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Cool.
Okay. Check us out. DM us with any questions, and we'll see you guys very soon.
Okay.
Bye.